Hi, I'm going to throw it over to Teresa to introduce the show. You never know where you're going to show up today.
That's so fun. Hello, one and all, and welcome to another exciting adventure on Spirit Sessions of You, the Light, where we are always learning new things all the time and learning, seeing things in new light, because isn't the vibrations raising? Aren't we getting more light? So it's exciting things that we do here. And today we have Sheri Collins, who, Rhonda, where did you find Sheri? What is this about?
I found Sheri on TikTok, and that's really, and you know, not everybody goes on TikTok, but Sheri kept showing up in my feed, and the more I saw her, the more I followed her, and then you see more people that you want to see, and she was so interesting and just had this really nice vibe and going on, and I loved her healing sessions and just what she talked about. So I thought, I've been following her for about a year, and then I just reached out to her. Now I find out that she's Canadian, woohoo, and she lives down the road. So in Ontario, you can drive 6 hours and still be not very far. So she lives quite a ways down the road. She's not a neighbor. So she lives in Ontario. I think the Kitchener-Waterloo area, did you say, Sheri? And she's a healer. And she's a transformational coach, and she does a lot of things, and she's always evolving and changing. But I think that's where spirit sends you. So Sheri is going to share one of her cards with us today, and we're excited to see this. And Sheri, then afterwards, if you could give us a little bit of your origin story and what's going on now, that would be great. There's Sheri.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And I'm going to share a card actually from my own personal deck. And this card is around whatever we need to transform in this now moment. So the first thing that comes up is sadness. So you guys can just hold your space for yourself as you look at this code. This code will just collapse the sadness that you're holding on to in this moment. Just allow yourself to feel it walk through your body. And you'll feel it in different spots. Everyone feels it in a different place. And then you could just take a deep breath at the end. And that just allows you to kind of move out and shift out of your own sadness and collapse it through your body system where you're holding it.
That's awesome. That's a great one to have.
And so grateful that you guys asked me to be on today. And I will just share a little bit about me. So I started this journey about 6 years ago, and I was guided into it by a friend. She asked me to kind of go and take a healing modality. And I did, and it was amazing. It was like an instant download. I can do this. I already know how. It's like all the pieces of the puzzle kind of like came together. And then over the years, I just kind of perfected it, building into my own classes, my own courses, taking different modalities. So like Akashic Records, and then building into my own. The biggest thing I have learned is just to quiet the mind and be still and kind of really truly understand who I am. That's where this journey has kind of unfolded into as of now. And it's really understanding how the mind plays the biggest role in our life and how we create things from the mind. And for me, stepping into this new adventure of coaching and healing in a different way is actually having a greater impact on my clients and on my students, because they're evolving so fast. It's like they're catching up now to where their ascension is leading them. So my newest launches are Ascending Consciousness. And that's really about giving you the tools to unpack your own stuff that you've collected since you were born, and then really just live a life of purpose-filled love. And it's really evolving quite quickly. And I'm just so heart-centered and so heart-based, exactly as you said, transcending with love. And it is all about that. The more you love yourself, the more it just amplifies everything. So that's the biggest quantum leap in ascension that we can do, is really just fall in love with ourselves. So that's what the last few months have just been, is falling in love with myself. And it's escalated to so many things. And it's just so beautiful. So many opportunities, just like coming on your show. And just like these things where it's just like, here, you could have this and have this. And I'm like, we all should know how to do that. So this is kind of like the next stage of healing in a bigger capacity, if that makes sense.
So when you talk about loving yourself, what are some of the practical things you started doing for yourself that like showed yourself you were loving yourself? I know I hear that phrase all the time, but I always wonder, what are people doing to do that for themselves?
The first thing I did was stop putting my focus on the external world. So I stopped trying to please people. I stopped trying to, rush out the door to do things. I really just started to sit still for myself and just be patient within myself. Because if you lack patience, sitting within yourself quietly is a great way to start. Now, in the past, I'd done all the meditations, like go sit here for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. This is a different kind of meditation where it's like you're being still, knowing who you are. And for me, loving myself was giving that to myself. And the more I empowered myself with being still, knowing that I'm God, being able to take those quantum leaps, being able to just service myself in that one moment changed everything. And when you direct everything to yourself, you have no one else there but yourself to love. So going in that journey of self-love and uncovering those beliefs or the emotions and these beautiful things within the Ascension journey, they all just started to disappear. There was no blocks. There is no barriers. There's no ego left. And so there's so many conflicting points of information in the spiritual. And I'm going to call a little bit of it out because I bought into it too. But when we awaken, part of it is we can choose to walk through the veil of illusion, or we could just step on the other side, which takes no time. But you're holding on to a belief system that says, I still need to test this out for myself. And I need to see both sides for myself. And every day I just have a good chuckle because I'll think of something and I'll go on TikTok for a quick scroll and it's like, here's this and here's this. And I'm like, oh, thank you for showing me that. And then I get off because you're just confirming to yourself both sides of every story that you've created for yourself. And so through this journey of self-love, you start to realize where you're going to put your attention, what you want to put your attention on, and your perception. If I think I have to give love away in order to receive it, that's backwards. It's giving it to yourself first. So you are so overfilled with it that you can give to others with no problem. Right. So that's my journey to self, and I'm still doing it. It's like sit still, 20 minutes meditation about self-love. And it starts with that every day, whether it's a workout or any of that. It's all about self. And that's the love we need to give to ourselves. We expect it from our parents. Some of my clients that I see, they're like, oh, my parents don't love me. I'm like, but you don't love yourself. And that's where it's got to start. You have to turn everything to yourself and give it to yourself.
Sorry, coming from a place of like that, not from resentment. So if you give to yourself first, then all that resentment or whatever is that when you're giving, then you go, well, I haven't had a chance to, you haven't filled your cup first. And so without that, you really can't be of service to anybody, even to your kids and your family, because you're just not really happy with or feeling that love.
We're not taught that. We're not shown that ever, right? For me, I chased after let's get married and let's have kids because that's all I knew. And then when that transpired, it was like, oh crap, hold on a second, right? This isn't working. That's falling apart. And I want that, right? So I'll just give you a little bit of a background where this started from actually. About, it was probably about 7 years ago. I did a Tough Mudder race and I tore this muscle in my arm. And so I was doing like my own therapy and healing stuff and whatnot. And then I decided I was going to do a bodybuilding competition. So I was at the gym 6 days a week and I was doing a security job just before that. And I was doing a stint in one of the hospitals looking after a patient. And this couple was in the bed across from him and she had just had a stroke and I was talking to them and he doted on her like she was the queen. And I'm like, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this again. I'm good. And then I saw that and I changed my mind. The love that he gave her helped her to keep going. Wow. So when I had this injury and I went to the gym, they were at the gym. And he was doting on her at the gym, making sure that she could put her leg in the stirrup of the machines to do the leg press or whatever. He was right beside her and then he would let her do it. And then he would come back. And I'm like, that's love because she already had it within her. And then they brought it together to make it whole. And I was like, okay, show me. I want the perfect love. And it had to start with me. If you don't have the perfect love for yourself, your partner is matching the love that you have for yourself. And this is where I strive to help people to understand how to transform the love that you think you have into true love for self. And it's magical.
I love it.
Yeah. That really sounds like so synchronistic. Like, here, you get it, but do you really get it? And they show it to you again. And I just love how you could recognize that too. And then, okay, there's confirmation. Like, I don't believe in coincidences, and nobody I know does, but it's very interesting. So you've been doing this work where you are, and how did you decide to go on TikTok? What happened that way? And how did that make it, like, how did you get guided to go on TikTok?
Well, actually, a friend of mine went on there and I just checked it out. And so then I started posting, just posts for a whole year. I just posted a video every now and again. And then I went, okay, I'm ready to go live. And I think you needed like 1,000 people to go live or something. And my girlfriend just gifted me 1,000 people. And then that day I went live. And I didn't really have a plan. I'm just like, let me go on and see where I can help. Right. And so like 1 viewer, 10 viewers turned into 100, which turned into thousands. And I'm just like, this is cool. Yeah. So it was good in the moment, but we have to realize too that there isn't really anybody to heal. We're sending the message to ourselves, really. So as I went through that, I started to realize more and more of what needed to shift and change, because I don't want to promote brokenness. I don't want to promote any of that stuff where we think we're broken and we can't do it ourselves. So really that shifted focus just switched, where it's like, I want to empower you to heal yourself. I'll give you the tools. I'll give you the help. I'll give you the guidance, but I want to empower you because I know what it's like. I healed myself. My eyes are perfect. My body is perfect. My cells are perfect. My arm is perfect. Whereas I thought I would never be able to use my arm. Now it's perfect. It doesn't hurt. There's nothing wrong. But the biggest thing for me is that I needed to learn to do the internal work for myself to understand it. And it's interesting because when I first started, I have 2 books somewhere in my office here where it shows the anatomy of the human body. I've opened it to buy the book and never looked at it again since. So the more we perfect the internal, the more it just creates this external where it's like this to this, here you go. And this is why. That knowledge is inside every single person. It's just allowing yourself to tap in so deep that you understand it for yourself. And this is part of the journey we are on, whether you take the healing route, whether you decide to be a pianist, whether you decide to do the cello or an artist, it's all the same. It's all the same. You're just in a shifted identity of yourself that wants to experience a certain thing or a certain understanding. And I think that's beautiful because you can go try on whatever costume you desire. And at the end of the day, you will gain knowledge and wisdom of all of it. But as we were saying just before this call about the Akashic Records, what a blessing of a learning tool that is, because that's all interdimensional right here, right now, in every moment. So when you learn to understand that component, that everything is on a quantum level, that there's 60,000 of you that doesn't have it, there's 80,000 of you that does have it, and there's 120 million of you that has more than enough of everything. So it's really taking that capacity of every person and going, I'm going to give you the tools to pull you into that 100 millionth of yourself and exceed and accelerate from that point. Instead of going into these little tiny things that we want to think we have to experience, let's just go to that end. Let's go to the end and be millionaires and be trillionaires and live a life of abundance. I think so many people get stuck where they think they can't have it. Right? And that's based on your past. And my past is different now. The past isn't the same past I grew up in. And if you ask me, I'll just tell you like, oh, I get a check every month because I have so much money and I get an inheritance every month. Whether that's the true identity of what I grew up in or not, doesn't matter. So it's learning to shift all of these mental states of consciousness into the highest form. And literally, once you reach that, everything is literally just dropped in front of you. You literally need to do nothing. It literally magnetizes itself to you. Where there is no doubt it's yours. I just applied to somebody's free business thing and I'm like, Okay, for shits and giggles, let's just sign up. It's mine. You've been accepted. Here you go. This gentleman has millions of followers, and there's only 19 of us in the group.
Oh,
thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
So when you empower yourself to be the magnet of everything in your life, there isn't anything you can't have. It's proving it to yourself that you are everything.
Yeah, and it's believing it when you know it. It's also recognizing it. Like sometimes we don't realize how our higher self or whatever is talking to us, and we're going, yeah, okay. And then I don't even know how to explain it. Sometimes it's like, you should do something and you don't, or you should do it because, yeah, like you say, I'm going to apply because whatever that popped up, so I'm going to do it. Or you go on to TikTok and something's popped up that you've been talking about, which I'm not sure how that works. And then you go, oh, should I pay attention to this?
Right. Yeah. Right. So the biggest thing we can do is take that aligned action. Anything that we feel drawn or guided to do is jumping into that. I'll give you just a little helpful understanding too about the ego as opposed to the higher self or your God consciousness of self. So when you are in your day-to-day and you're awake, anything that's negative, anything that is victim mentality, all of that stuff is all ego-based. And it takes this strong will inside of us to go, no, thank you. And it's an over and over again, no, thank you. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not who I am. And it's staying in the faith that what you want to be is already now. Creation's already finished. So if you allow yourself to break apart from the ego, because the ego is not necessary. A lot of people will tell you that it is, but it's not. We don't need to have the ego. We need to understand what it is we've walked through already and what's presenting itself that you're still choosing. And in every moment of that journey, you can just keep going, no, thank you. I'm choosing this. This is who I am now. That identity of the ego will start to slowly push its way out. When it fully leaves, it is liberating to the 10th degree. It is so liberating to go, oh, thank you. But no, that's not who I am. And life changes so much so that, there's things that'll come up that you feel the need to do, and you'll just stop and go, no, thanks. I don't need to do anything. And that's when when you are so still in understanding who you are, it's just a natural form of consciousness.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking like, yeah, that's so true. It's like you start, how do you explain it? You start listening with different ears or something. It's a whole different thing. And letting go of the ego, and the first step I think is recognizing what's ego and what's you. And I think that's where probably what you teach too, or maybe that's how you show people, because I think the first step of most things of change is recognizing what you need to change or who's really talking to you, right?
There's a lot of things that we need to, once we're awake, we have to realize what needs to be changed. And the class that I teach, I'll just give you, and your viewers can do this exercise for themselves. I literally asked my students in my Ascending Consciousness class, I'm like, if you had a photograph of your past, say you were 5 years old, what is the meaning behind that photo to you? You haven't seen it in years, but all of a sudden it's in your awareness. It's right in front of you. What does it mean? You're going to attach a negative, a positive, a good, a bad, right, wrong to that picture. But you didn't remember it 5 minutes before it landed right in front of you, right? So part of our conscious awareness is only what we need to see or remember will be shown in that moment. So when this picture comes in, you can actually just look at it and go, what do I need to understand of this picture? What does it mean to me? Because if you attach meaning, it means something to you. If you attach no meaning to it, it doesn't matter. You're neutral to it. So the students were looking back in their memory bank of pictures going, oh, I have this picture of this. And I'm like, and how does it make you feel? And she goes, I feel good. I'm like, well, why? Oh, because it was a great day. And then she went, but I was alone on my birthday and I'm like, but that's not true. You're creating a story after the fact. So we will take a photo, and I'll even just share mine of a pure example of it. A picture came across my awareness, and we were doing a slip and slide. I was young. I don't even know how old. there was a slip and slide going on. And I took a closer look at the picture and I'm like, who's in that picture? And I'm like, there's my cousins, there's me. Who's that boy? Because that's not my brother. Who's the boy? And I looked at him and I went, oh my gosh. Right? So my reaction to that person was not a positive. And I literally just went out and I went, wow, we had such an amazing day. And I threw the picture in the garbage because it didn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It's what you attach the emotions and the beliefs and the perception of that event. If you can neutralize it, it doesn't mean anything. The past does not exist. You create it as a memory to exist in this moment when you need to hold yourself in prison.
So true. So true. And I say, like, everybody can experience, even people in that picture, that if you showed them the same picture, they'd have a totally different experience of that day. And that's what I said. Like, everybody, you know, some people will be telling a trauma from their past and you're going like, why was that a trauma? And other people were going, oh, but the same thing. You've attached an emotion and you've anchored yourself to that trauma with that emotion, and you have to cut the ties however you can to that.
The biggest thing, and I know from my own experiences being a mom, I have 2 children. My oldest son, I had a moment last year where I'm like, I'm just going to go sit and be by myself. And when I came home, my son was in the kitchen and I looked at him, I said, can you forgive me for being a shitty mom? And he goes, yeah, I forgive you. And it was like the spell was broken between the two of us of everything that we were holding on to. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And our relationship is amazing. But I had to recognize my role in that. So sometimes for parents where they've got little ones and they're already stressed and frustrated, the easiest thing to do is when you've calmed, can you forgive me? And it breaks that karmic tie to them. So they're less likely to bring that forward into their own life, into their own adulthood. So you can use that as a tool to help yourself. Can you forgive me?
Beautiful.
Because now you're no longer holding it.
Yeah, I think I'll try that. I have 2 kids too, but they're older, but still, I'm sure I can think of times I was a shitty mom, and yeah. And you spend the rest of your life trying to make up for it.
Right? That's the quantum leap, right? Is being able to, and truly, like, all the things that I've learned through the past 6 years of the spiritual stuff, like the cards, the tarot, the crystal, I've let it all go for the simple fact of you choose the identity of that, or you can choose just to ascend to the other side of it. And so it was great to go through that journey of let's go learn the cards and the tarot. It was a great journey. But I realize now that with the knowledge and wisdom that I have of what I went through, I'm just going to go to the other side of that now. And I want to take you to there because the bliss state is absolutely magical.
Oh, yeah.
So this is where I'm kind of like heading with this ascending consciousness and mastering consciousness is really just to take you from where you think you have to go through and awaken and do all this stuff. I'm just going to plop you on the other side of that. And I'm going to give you all the tools and understanding to really let go of everything and live your best life.
Yeah,
however you choose it.
We're so used to having to work so hard to do things like learning math, and you have to go through all the steps. So I guess that's really built in from the time we're young. Like, you just don't get on a bike and ride it. You have to learn how to fall and get, there are those people that can just ride, but you know what I mean? It's still a learning process. And sometimes it's like what we have to learn, and then we can go forward. But,
right.
Yeah. It's just a choice though. You're choosing whatever it is you want to experience. The one thing that I watched the movie Inception, and in the beginning of the movie, he says to the girl, it's not going to be quoted, but it's kind of like the gist of it is if somebody tells you what you need to do, it's not really the consciousness of God that's telling you that. So if I said to you, you need to go learn tarot, and you go and you learn tarot, it's not coming from the highest source because somebody else is telling you to do it. So it's really learning to go and seek the answers within. And when those answers come from within, it is the purest alignment. The other thing I want to say too is there's Josiah Brandt put out a little bit of a post that really shifted my own consciousness to let go 100% of ego. Now, my father left when I was very young, but I always looked to God to be my father. And so I never wanted to disappoint him. When I started this journey, that was my biggest thing. I don't want to disappoint God. I want to make it the true of alignment as best I can understand it for myself. The interesting thing is he put out this post that was, if you are talking to yourself within your mind, you're talking to God. And I literally just sat there and went, that shit in my brain needs to stop, because that is not alignment. So if I'm speaking to God and I'm telling myself that I'm not good enough and I'm ugly and I'm stupid, you're telling God that. And I'm like, that's it. And it was like the quiet of the mind. And I was like, ooh, I like that. So now the thoughts that come in are very conscious, very conscious. So the conversations with God, because you are God of your reality, you are talking to God all the time. Would you truly say those things? Would you truly think those things about yourself? No. So that's a great way to just stop it.
Ooh, that's a cool way to think about it. Never, ever thought about it that way. So, yeah, I guess then you have to start talking positively all the time to yourself in your mind. And that would be quite a shift.
It's the way you word it, really.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we are positive. We just add words that don't make sense onto it. But and try and maybe and da 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 da. So the more you become consciously aligned, as though you're talking to God all the time, what would you truly say?
Right. So how do you teach yourself? Give us a little lesson. Give us a little example lesson to shift us today a little bit closer to where we want to go.
Awesome. Absolutely. So just close your eyes for a second and just take a deep breath. So I'm just going to ask you a question. So with this question, the first thing that comes into your head is what you're going to use. Do you fully 100% love yourself? So there's a drop in the gut that just happened there, right? Paying attention to what the body's trying to tell us about the truth or the lie, right? It's both truth. There is really no such thing as a lie. There's no hell. There's none of that. It's all within you. So take your right hand and place it on your body where you felt that drop, where you don't really 100% love yourself. And just place it on that spot for a second. And I just want you to ask yourself another question. Why don't I love myself 100% fully and completely? And just listen to the next questions. What did I do wrong? First thing that comes up, just hold that. Why don't I deserve it? Why must I give it to somebody else first? So the opposite of that is understanding that there is only you. So as you're in there, close your eyes, keep your eyes closed. I want you just to imagine yourself standing in a white room right now. And I want you to put everyone and everything in that room that you feel comes before loving yourself, whether that's your children, your pets, your husband, your friends, just to please them. Every single person, teachers from elementary school, high school, doesn't matter. I need to give this to you first so that you will love me. Put everything in that white room. And as you're in that white room, I want you to say in your mind, I love me more. I choose me. I'm special. I'm chosen. I am all there is. I am love. Just say that again. I am love. So I'm not looking for love. I'm not trying to convince anyone to love me. I am love. And just allow that to radiate through the entire room until the room is just white. Everything else has disappeared. Every person that you put in there is gone. I am love. I am chosen. I am special. I am first. I am wanted because I want me. I am loved because I love me. And as this room fills up with more and more light, just feel how light your body becomes. When you're ready, you can just open your eyes and come back. How do you feel now?
Better.
So now if I ask you that same question, do you love yourself 100%? Do you see how there's no drop?
Yeah.
When we wait for people to love us, it's backwards. When we wait for our parents to apologize, it's backwards. There is none of that. They owe you nothing. You owe it to yourself. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Such conditioning. Such conditioning.
Absolutely. Expect it for yourself. Expect greatness for yourself, because the more you expect it for yourself, the more it's just going to show up and give it to you.
Cool.
How do you guys feel?
Much better. Yeah.
Inspired.
Yeah, inspired. That's a good word, Teresa. Inspired. That's a good word. Good word.
It's taking back your own power. It's realizing who you truly are and the power that you actually have.
That's really cool. So you go by Sheri Collins, Sheri Serafina, right? Collins?
I just go by Sheri Collins.
Collins now? Okay. Yeah. So I know we talked about how many people impersonate each other on TikTok. I don't think we've had that problem. I don't know why. We're not that popular yet. But you've had lots of accounts and people. I always talk like people. If somebody contacts you from TikTok, then you know it's somebody scamming you out of the blue, right? Pretty much. If it's that.
Well, you know you're famous when people want to be you.
Oh yeah, and how can you not love that? Seriously.
Well, I probably have about 30 fake accounts on TikTok and probably 30 to 60 on Facebook alone.
Oh.
So, for me, I look at it as though, thank you. I'm grateful for this becoming my awareness, but I really just let it go. Like, to me, they don't exist because there's me. Everyone else is me pushed out. So therefore, I need to look at it as though they don't exist. It's not just something that exists in my reality. So I just let it go.
Yeah, I think that's the wisest way. People sometimes get very bent out of shape over that. And I just, those who know will know. And that's all you can do about it. So tell us about your business, about what you do, and like where people can find the true Sheri Collins. And
absolutely.
And what other product, like you have your decks that will be coming eventually onto your website, I take it, which are pretty cool. Can you explain your deck a little bit too? Because, you showed it, but explain what it's all about, because that was really cool.
Absolutely. So I'll start off with where they can find me. So I do offer just one-to-one with myself, which is it's a coaching structure. We can work on anything that you desire: business, health, love, relationship, starting with self and healing as well. And that's infinitysourcecode.com. That is the only way to get a session with me or a booking with me. I do also have in my online school, you can purchase and take any one of my courses. So there's Akashic Records. There's 3 levels of that. There's Quantum Energy Healing, which is 3 levels of that, soon to be 4. You can also take like auras. You can learn spiritual development, so clairs and mediumship, and how to clear your house with energy and all that good stuff. So that's a year-long program, which is just getting restructured right now, but it's still available. And so all of that is available on my website in the store. My cards, I'll just give a backstory of the cards. So I just started creating like 3-dimensional codes based off 2 books that I read. And then these codes would come in. And so I would just write the codes on paper when I was beyond TikTok.
Yeah.
And so everyone was shifting from them. I'm like, well, I'll just put them in a card deck so that makes it easier. Oops. And so how they work is they actually collapse timelines through the body system. So you can ask questions. You can ask questions for your day. So if you said, like, what's in the way of me receiving a 6-figure offer to coach with an NHL team? So then abundance of money, fear of failure, and my dad. So with these 3, then I can just collapse the timeline where that would be in the body system, and then it will release it from you. And these will be available in my merch shop on my website, but just not yet. I just took it down just to revamp the website. But it will be there. You can reach out directly if you want me to send you cards.
So use the cards, you look at them and just take them in?
You can literally just place your hand. See, to me, these are 3-dimensional codes. So even though it's flat for you guys to see it, for me, it's 3-dimensional. I can see it, and then I can move them. So each one has its own purpose to how it shifts in the body, but you just literally place your hand over it and it'll shift it through your body.
Nice.
Sometimes people just put their hand up to the screen when I put them on there.
Oh yeah, I take it when you're doing your healing on screen. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't actually happen on the screen. So that's a big, especially for me, like just to understand it on that level, if you need to know what it is. So if I sat here and did healing on you, it's not really through the screen. You're actually just standing right in front of me.
Yeah.
Right. So there is really, the screen has really nothing to do with it. It's really just all in front of me. Even if people come to my house for a session, I don't touch you. I don't touch you at all. I just literally stand beside you as you lay down and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessary to use like any screens or any of that stuff. That's why distance healing works really well. And so I've actually started doing internal hypnosis on people, and I've been doing that on my lives, and everybody is shifting from that because it's all mental. So it shifts the mental blocks, but you don't have to go into trance. I'm just shifting it within your brain where you're holding the blocks. One girl did it and she got so many job offers, she didn't know what to do with them all. Another girl got 2 checks out of nowhere. So it's being able to shift the mind so that we can let go.
Right on.
So yeah, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it kind of works in with our Akashic records, right? Because we sometimes have these contracts or whatever that we've just kept and taken down. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
My Akashic's closed, so I don't even go in anymore. Mm-hmm. It's easy enough to stop that interdimensional stuff and just clear it out so that there is nothing left. And that just means if you come back to play the game again, there's nothing there to like backtrack to first.
Okay, there's no backstory. So do you believe in reincarnation? Is that like something that we come back to here? What's your belief? What's your belief when we die? And then we can go from there.
You don't ever die.
Okay.
You don't ever die.
Okay. I should say when we leave this mortal shell behind.
Yeah. So my latest joke of it is kind of like the little red number on your birth certificate is how many times you've played this game.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I got to check that one out.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a fun game, right? Because if you look at this as a simulation, if I'm Laura Croft Tomb Raider and I'm going to the left and I die, I come back again, right? I didn't have to be born again, right? You just go to another dimensional timeline. So do I believe in reincarnation? My belief has changed on that because we never die. But our soul needs to have experiences. So I will actually encounter people who will say, I'm not coming back. And I'm like, but yes, you are. Like,
I know.
You can't not come back. You've agreed to all of it.
Yeah.
So if you choose not to, then learn everything you need to learn about consciousness to get to that level where it's not necessary for you to come back. But it is just a game. Like if you look at this as a game of life and a game of ascension and move the middleman out, life becomes a dream. So the Akashic is helpful because anywhere that you're sitting in that timeline of this isn't working because of this, clear it out, done. And it can't come back, right? So the easiest way to look at it is the faster you clean it out, then you're only dealing with this now moment of your life. The stories of the past don't keep coming up. It's just done. So
that's an interesting way to think of it. Yeah. Yeah. So we leave this, but we come back because this is the school, right? This is where we get to feel it, do it. And
if you look at it as a simulation, when you're not in your kitchen doesn't exist, right? That's physics. So if you die, none of it exists. So you're just coming back to replay it however you want to, right? The faster you wake up, the better. But it doesn't mean that those who we deem haven't awakened or awoken, it doesn't mean they're in a different place than we are. Everybody has to go through these different stages, because I listened to a gentleman talk about the aliens and they're coming and all this stuff. And then a post came up, the opposite of that, going, they told us the aliens were coming in like the 19 something and they're still not here. And I just went, oh, isn't that ironic?
So I think they've always been here, but that's me.
But that story has to play out for everyone, right? There's certain things that have to play out for each person, right? Because how you see the simulation is what you're going to experience in the simulation, right? For myself, I kind of see past all the bullshit, and I really see past where people, and I'll just reference this. I had a young man come to me. He's like, I'm possessed by this and I can't do this and I'm not allowed to go over there. And I said, were you popular in high school? And they said, yes. And I said, when you became an adult and moved out, you weren't popular anymore. He goes, no. I said, that's why you ended up back in your parents' house. You want to go back to where it's comfortable, back to where you don't have to be an adult, back to where things are easy, right? But when you get it in your head that this is going on, it makes it harder to shift out of it because you want the past. So if you can remove all the in-between layers of crap that you create for yourself, it becomes much easier to send to the higher level of just consciousness. You determine what your consciousness looks like on the other side.
Okay. Great. That's been so cool. So people can look to you, and I'll have all your links. You're on every social media platform, so it's great. So you can look up Sheri Collins on every media check her out on TikTok. If you haven't checked out TikTok, there's so much on TikTok. Anyways, if you want to do a brain numb for half an hour, that's the best way. If you have to go to the dentist or something. But Sheri has these wonderful lives that you can participate in and get a feel for what her sessions would be like. Teresa, I know you're not on TikTok because you're not a scroller. I know. Yeah. I love how you've shifted something in my brain right now, so I'm having a hard time thinking in a straight line anymore. So yeah, no, it's a great thing, and we're so happy you could come on our show today. Is there anything else you'd like to speak about, or any other new project that you're doing that you want to give people the heads up ahead of time about, Sheri?
Yeah, so Ascending Consciousness will be available for anybody who wants to dive into that on a drip system. That should be available by April. It's taken my students through it in live right now, and then that'll be available. So if you're ready to dive in and you're ready to take those steps for yourself of really just cleaning up your entire life, dive in. Other than that, like towards the end of the year, there's a little bit more stuff going on. I have 2 meetups coming up. Retreat in June where I am. And then I have a retreat of just a meetup group in Ireland in July and a meetup in UK in July as well. So that, and then lots of stuff coming at the end of the year, probably a relaunch of Master of Creation, Mastering Consciousness. And doing certifications for that, and people can come in and work in my company with me. So yeah, it's growing exponentially, and new people coming in and joining all the time, and just watching them grow is just so fulfilling. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So have you got room in your retreat that's in Canada still, or are you filled up on that one?
I haven't launched it just as of yet, so there's tons of room.
Oh, okay. So you can go onto your website and find that information out. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there will be a link. There'll be a link in the upper bar or the lower bar where you can click into the retreats to see where they are. And
And the one in Canada, is it in Canada, yours?
Yeah, it'll be in June.
Yeah, where will it be?
Probably local to KW.
Okay, that's Kitchener-Waterloo. And for all you people from the States, we're 40% off up here in Canada all the time. So travel up here. We're at least 40% off. That's what I like to say. Just take a look at the exchange. We're 40% off. So your money goes further in Canada, and it's nice here.
Do you know
all
what?
the time.
It is actually super cheap to travel. Last couple of years, I've been to Egypt twice. I went to Mount Shasta, and I've been to Arizona. Super cheap. Like, it's not expensive. So it's just literally being, okay, where do I want to go? Even to go to Ireland, I mean, to go to 6 days to 10 days was the exact same price. Like, it's decent.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I think that's part of our mindset. It's not expensive to travel. It's
actually not. No.
It's not expensive to travel. And everything's getting cheaper all the time, especially, yeah. And snow is always free. That's great. Teresa's in sunshine. We're in snow. And you must still be in snow too. Are you, Sheri?
It's warm here. It's mild. We're almost out of snow.
Yeah. Seriously? Oh, well, I am further north, and I am looking at it about 2.5 feet on the ground right now. So
it's all yours. It's not mine.
We had rain, but that just took the ice away there last week. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Teresa, do you have anything else left to say or questions to ask before we go?
No, I'm pretty excited.
You're pretty excited.
I want to say thank you to you both for having me on. It's been so much fun and very grateful for this opportunity just to share all of this with everyone. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And you have a YouTube channel, so subscribe to Sheri's YouTube channel. Subscribe to Spirit Sessions of You, the Light YouTube channel. Listen to our podcast, like and follow that. Anything else? No, I think that's it for this week. Join us next week when Kim Van de Sandy from the Netherlands will be bringing in her guest, Mary Porter, I believe, if I've got that right, and all about flowers and all sorts of wonderful things and the messages they bring. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this week, and have a good week, and let go of that sadness. I love that card. I love the card. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheri.
Namaste.